Good morning, everybody. It is 8:11 a.m. It is January 16th. It's Friday. It is OPEX, monthly expiry. Okay, so a lot of money comes off the table today, usually trillions of dollars, which happens to cause some volatility, and sometimes you get some pinning later in the day at large gamma strikes. Okay, it doesn't always happen. Seen it enough to know that it does happen. Okay, now technology since the close has caught some love again. So this market's just in a flux. Okay, definitely is. Doesn't know what it wants. And what's just keeps happening is technology, even though it's up and semis are up again, can't just get out of its own way. So hold on one second. All right, I'm back. Now, what I was saying was we're kind of in a flux, and technology is definitely just can't find its way. Even yesterday, with the big bump off the open, which is very important, it still was down 1% yesterday. So that was the demise at the end of the day for tech. Okay? So if this does catch a bid, technologies, like I said, these markets will push. There won't be any influx. It will just go. So there's a rotation happening, it seems, but it seems technology is trying to hold on. Okay? That's what's, I keep flashing up that XLK chart because it's just in this long balance and it needs to break out or break down because the rest of the market is not falling apart. There's a rotation happening. Now, if it keeps rotating out of tech into other stuff, the rest of the market's kind of holding up stuff. Now, like I said, this morning semis are up again and technology is up again. But overall, we're just in flux. Okay. Today is OPEX. I already explained that. There's not a lot of data coming out today. It is Friday. Okay. The way this market has just moved up, I'll show you that in the hourly chart. I could see it's like smaller candles. I don't know why volumes. I don't know if someone else has a holiday or some type of something in another country. Even though I'm seeing relative volume is decent, it seems, I don't know, it seems like the move overnight was very small bodied candles. Um, and like I said, just in flux. All right. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and buying profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. All right. That's how I look at markets. That's how I plan. Use Anchor View Ops and my trusty market internals that never fails me. Okay. Now, as all of you I made well aware, I use ICT framework to execute my trades now. That has become a vital asset to myself. Okay? And not everything's picture perfect because you can make it your own. It's just a tool. Okay? So that's what I use. Now, if you want to join me every morning, please do so. Subscribe, set that alert. All right? Give you the market stories every morning, along with technical analysis and a bunch, the economic calendar, all right, leaders and laggards, and I give you the long short trade scenarios in the Nasdaq and the ES futures. Okay, now if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to go join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to the YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. I will not steer you wrong. Trust me, I will not steer you wrong. I don't know if my good friend is in here. He has 17 aliases, so I'm not sure what he'll come up as, or if he's even watching. But he can attest the play-by-play in the markets. Okay. I even made a video yesterday on my Discord. Right off the bat, in my Discord, I posted this video. Okay. And basically it was saying not to do anything. There's nothing to do. There was too much cross currents. So those are the type of things, because I wasn't live yesterday until one of my good friends and part of my community was like, "Hey, like, are you gonna go live?" And I went live with him. But like, this was the video that I posted. I took a couple short scalps yesterday. Now what I found out, and I'm like I said, I just started trying to do funded stuff with Top Step. I got funded. Now I have 2 free resets. I thought I had 2 free accounts. That's not how it works. That I found out. So I have 2 free resets. So basically, I'm like, okay. Yesterday, I was like, well, if I have 2 free resets and I still had to pay for a new account, I was like, what can I do? Because that means I have 2 resets if I blow up account, and that's free. But if every time I start a combine, you still have to pay. So now I get it. That makes sense. So I thought yesterday, well, why don't I just go heavy or heavier? I usually do 1 lot minis. I went heavier to 2. And I did a couple things. All my trades would have worked yesterday. Right? But I was really quick to like go to break even just because, it's double the risk. I don't like how I trade it like that. It was like scared trading. I don't like that. Even though I made money and all my analysis correct, I didn't like that because I know using 2 lots is not really the good risk model for a 50K account. It's just not. Unless it's like a very slow moving market, right? And I can have like a point or 2 point risk. It makes sense there. Any more than that, 4 points, like let's say 4 points, and I risk 2 contracts, that's $400 of risk, right? Which is fine. I just feel that that's a little too much if you really want to pass it, and you want to pass it the right way. I think that's a little too rich for only a $2,000 risk account. Okay? That's why I was like, I don't like it, even though, I just got funded basically doing 1 ES Mini, right? And I had the holiday of December, which there's multiple days I didn't trade because of the holidays. So, that's what I'm going to try to do. Again, I think what I'm going to try to do today, either if I have a point risk or 2 point, I could go 2. But any more than that, I'll probably go 1 and then add. I think that's the only way I'm going to probably want to do it, is if it goes past my entry, then I can add right by my entry. That way, if I go to break even, I still have 2 lots, but now I have no risk. I think that's the way I'm going to try to play it. Remember, I have the free resets. I thought I had 2 frees, but I just have resets. So that means I can blow up, reset for free. Blow up, reset for free. I don't want to look at it like that, but I feel I'm trading very good. So like, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I'm just trying to figure it out because I have those 2 free resets. I have no doubt I'll probably get funded again, but it could be quicker with the 2 lots. So we'll see. We'll see. I just want to keep you guys informed of what I'm doing. All right, it's a little journal for myself, even. Okay, now let's get into the watch list here. Let's see what's moving. Crude is moving up at almost 1%. Okay. 10-year yield is up. That's not good for 30-year mortgage. Okay. 10-year yield lockstep with mortgage rates, so that's going to send mortgage rates higher. Ethereum up 0.68, Nasdaq's up 0.40, Bitcoin's up 0.34, ES is up 0.11, Russell's up 0.09, Dow is flat, dollar is flat, VIX is down 0.44. 30-year bonds being sold, that makes sense. Yields are higher. Gold is down, and silver's down. Silver's is down 4%. Okay, a lot of banks are short silver. All right. I saw something yesterday that somebody said this could go as high as 150 if these banks keep getting short squeezed. Okay. Remember, I'm still long silver. I mean, not long. I mean, I'm not in a trade. I'm in an investment. So I've trimmed. I have zero cost basis pretty much now. So that is all good. Moving on to the top sector stocks. I mean, I'm sorry, to the Mag 7 Plus here. AMD, semis are getting love, up 2.10%. Broadcom up 0.87, Coinbase up 0.68, Nvidia's up 0.60, Google's up 0.5, almost a half a percent. All right, who's lagging today? Not really much. Apple down 0.28. That's really it. Top sectors. GEV Vernova, loving it, loving it, loving it. I own that. I'm hoping I can get up to the 700s again. I will trim. I've owned that since 200 and something dollars. It's a monster. I wish I had more. I didn't really probably do this correctly in my portfolio. I can't complain. It's not a complaint, just you can always do better. Caterpillar's up a percent. Now, who's lagging today? Goldman Sachs, McDonald's, and the miners. No surprise, the miners. All right, we go granular. Big winner today. Oh, let me add this to the list. Let me add this one stock to the list. All right, let me add this to the list. I thought I had it on here. ASTS. Let me see if I have Rocket Labs on here. I'm not sure if I have Rocket Labs on here. Well, we have to add them to the list. They're movers. Okay, so look at the top of the list now. ASTS just got some kind of shield contract. Something. The friggin' thing is a monster. Okay? Now, I have a good friend of mine. He told me about this stock, maybe a year, something. And the stock was at like $12. He's like, I'm telling you, this is the thing. This is the thing. It's better than Starlink. It's about, he researched it. And I was like, all right. But I was like speculative at that point. And I remember going, all right, watching this thing at $17. Freaking thing's at $108. God. All right. Now, Micron's up 4.27. Play. I want to say that's Dave & Buster's or Playboy. I can't remember now. Western Digital, Rocket Labs up 2.53. That's also been a monster. I remember this stock. Also, my friend told me about because he's into the space stocks. He was like, it was $7. Freaking thing's $93 right now. Lamb Research just sent me. All right. Now, let's see. There's laggers this morning. Who's lagging today? Vistra. Remember they signed something with Meta. All right. MGM's down. Aluminum's down. Looks like Coors, that's Molson or something like that. TAP. All right. That's it for that. Let's move on. Sectors. Can clearly see semiconductors getting love, up 1.27%, followed by technology, up 0.65. Okay. Energy's up. Now, lagging. Staples. Utilities. Utilities is lagging today, and basic materials, which would be your metals. That makes sense, right? Always has to make sense. Now we're going to move over to the economic calendar here. Today, we have NHAB Housing Market Index at 10 a.m., and then we got a bunch of Fed speak. All right, let's look at Trump. All right, we do got some Trump stuff here. All right. Trump speaks at 10 a.m. Great. Jesus, this guy. I want to tell him, can you talk like at 2 or 4? Right? He talks at 10 and talks at 3:15 again. All right. So, latest wave of enthusiasm for technology stocks carried into Friday, lifting U.S. stock futures. Okay. Also, China had a good day with tech stocks. All right. Now, we are going to go into some stock news here. Maybe this has an update. Let's see. Do you have an update for me? Hello. Let's go here. Here we go. I know there's some banks. PNC reported earnings. So let's see here. PNC stock rose 2.8 after the lender's profit jumped 25%. And there's a financial, but Taiwan Semiconductor, okay, stock gained 1%, adding to the previous session's gains after the world's largest contract chip maker posted strong. So they're still moving the markets. That's why semis are up. Novo Nordisk stock gained 4.3 after the UK regulator approved the maximum dose of up to 7.2 milligrams per week. Kraft Heinz stock fell 1%. MGM stock dropped 2% after a downgrade. HP stock dropped 3% after the Barclays downgrade. Alrighty. Moving on to stock news. Or more news. Poker Face Powell may have ace up the sleeve to stymie Trump's Fed shakeup. Let's see. Semiconductors we just talked about. All right, let's see here. BlackRock, TD Cowen raises target price. Intel, Jefferies raises target price on Intel. Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan raises target price. Nvidia, Jeffrey raises target price to 275 from 250. Wow. Alrighty. I think we're done there. Moving on. We're going to go right into internals. Recap. My bread and butter. My bread and butter. All right. So, yesterday was a weird one. All right. That's why you got to let the market. Yeah, that's why I sat back and was like, all right, this is a mess. This is a mess. So, when the market opened, okay, I'm going to explain a couple things here. Okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you real quick here. Okay. Hourly chart here. When the market, you got to remember, the market on the previous day, like was all the way down here. Okay. And then it did this, the market. Whoop, boom. Right? That is a lot of, that is a lot of run up. Whenever you have a run up like that, okay, and you're at a key levels and stuff like that, just picture yourself running a marathon. Okay? You're going to want to take a break. You just ran and covered a lot of miles. Okay? So, when it brings us to internals, I said the internals, if you just look at them here, they were telling you nothing. And when they do this, look at the price action. It's not great. That is not great. And what was happening was you had, like, at the time, tech was not weak in the beginning of the day. It wasn't. It wasn't like this in the beginning. It was more of a mixed market. Communications was down and healthcare was down, but like the rest wasn't down. And I was like, that is a red flag. I am going to wait it out. And this just told you everything you needed to know. Now, when the equal weight is stronger than the market cap, that's generally a bearish sign. Okay? Bearish sign. Now, market wasn't weak either. I have to stress this. It was not weak. It just ran a lot. Remember, pre-market doesn't show up here, but we ran a lot up, came into key levels, and sold off towards the end of the day. Okay? You can see the weakness finally caught up with it. Maybe some profit taking. Okay? That's what happened to market internals. And you see that Infotech ended up down 1% off the open. These are so key. Off the open, not yesterday's close, off the open. What do I care about yesterday's close? I don't. Not in my internals. I want to know what's driving the market off the open today. Right? Because if you had this on the close, Infotech, I believe, still ended up in a positive. So you could be like, ooh, tech strong. But not off the open. That's the important part. Okay? That's the internals. Now let's move on to daily charts. All right. All right. Here's our SPY. And so I also put was noticing this black line right here. That's last week's close. Now look, the market was above it and around it. I said, look at this. This market has done nothing. It's unchanged since last week. We are in balance. Okay. We're in this range. We closed here. We went down to last month's highs, right? We went up to last week's highs. Just a blah, right? Where are we now? 693 and a halfs, almost. Ooh, let's go back here. 693 and right around here. You're in the mid of yesterday. Horrible location. Horrible trade location. Horrible trade location. All right, moving on to futures. Let's just look at that. Okay. So, that was yesterday. We went up, hit last week's highs. That was the liquidity I used to short ES right there. And look at us in the middle of yesterday. Horrible location. Look at this range. All right, let's look at that range here. Just, what are we doing? Nothing. We're doing nothing. Okay? Nothing. That's why you have to sit back. Okay? When I'm trading, I sit back and I just let the market hit some type of level of liquidity, some type of confluent level that I know people's liquidity will be at. And then I act accordingly. Otherwise, it's noise. Okay? And that takes a while to understand that, right? It really does. Because I've been there when I want to trade and you see something intraday, intramarket in this chop and you're like, ooh, 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 ooh. I think instead, I know in the back of my mind when I was day trading previously that I would be like, I want to short. Let's say this candle. Let's say I know last week's highs is here, and one of my good friends was live with me yesterday. Can attest to my patience, right? I said I want to see what the market does with that liquidity, and I just waited, and it played games, and it finally hit it. And then I was like, okay, check off number one, hit last week's highs. What is it going to do now? And then it started to make these little lower highs. And I told him, we're in a range bound day. Gravity's going to start to take place. And then right off I had an early short, an early one that paid off pretty nicely. And then I had two more. And the one, like I said, I was so tight with my stop and aggressive that I didn't like that I traded like that because I believed that we were going to go down. And it did. But then I said it's not that weak. Now, I left the markets at around 2, something. And I was just like, I didn't really watch it, so that's it. That's trading. All right, Qs. Let's get Qs. Qs is a mess. Look at that. What a mess. All right, look at that. Now, that sweep is still pretty powerful. That candle, that is very powerful. Okay, we're not at all-time highs, and at a big-time resistance. Look to the left. That is big-time resistance. Now, if tech starts to get money back into it, we're going to break that and go all-time highs. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, right? Nobody knows. And there's last Friday's close, last week's close, right there. Look at what happened. We opened there. Then you got some love, and then you fell apart, right? Right at the 9 EMA daily. Okay? Not a great chart. Look at that. Not a great chart. Okay? Where are we now? 624.40. 624.40 means you right here. Horrible location. You're in the middle of yesterday. Horrible, horrible location. Can't stress that enough. Not good. Okay? Now you want to talk about volume. And I keep mentioning this. Look at this. I want to make sure everybody realizes this. This is just for this period. That's why on my chart in Nasdaq futures, I have the most traded price of the rolling year. That's what we're trading around. This is not even the rolling year. This is just showing you. It also is the most traded price. Where we go? We're playing around with the most traded price of the month, this year, and the rolling year. That's why this is like so choppy. That's why. Okay? But it's going to be glorious, whatever it does. If it does go up, yeah, that's going to be a nice move. It will be. It will be. All right, now, let's look at futures. Like I said, garbage. It's just garbage. Garbage. Look at that. It is not good. That is a bunch of trading. That's no going anywhere. Look, we go up, we go up, we go down, we go up. It's not doing anything. Okay? It's playing with a lot of levels here. You got the 50-day moving average here that we hit, right? We got the 90 MA daily, but it's just gobbledygook. That's why in these markets, you have to wait and pounce like a cat in the grass. Okay? Because in this area, in the middle of yesterday's session, and you want to trade in here, you know, scalp your heart out, but you're not going to get big moves, right? You're just not. So, you want to play the edges, right? Or play something like, again, internals are going to drive me, but that's what's going on. All right, let's look at the breath. Let's smell that breath in the market. Woof. All right, this is important, folks. Remember what I keep saying. 72, right here, we closed that 72% of stocks are over their 50-day moving average, with technology being stagnant. Remember, we get frothy above 80%. Okay? We get frothy around, if you look up, around 85%. That's when the market is pretty much overbought. Okay? So we're at 72. We were holding around the 50s for a while. This is why our markets are not falling apart with technology just lollygagging. If technology catches a bid and we break out of that congestion, this should really, the breath should improve. Now, let's look at XLK. Remember I keep saying XLK is 35% of the market cap weight, and it's gobbledygook. Look at this range. My God, it can't get out of its own way. So this is the key, folks, to the market, XLK sector. Can you break out or can you break down? I don't know. It's gobbledygook. Okay? This is why our markets are wacky. Because look, 35% of the market cap. You have a red day, a red day, a red day. Well, black in this case, but you get what I'm saying. Down day, down day, up day, down day, up, up, down, down, down. Okay? It's garbage. How do you trade garbage? Like a sniper. Okay? Like a sniper. Moving on. Moving on. Let's do it. Hourlies, hourlies, hourly charts. Let's look at these hourlies. Oh, it's already doing what I thought it was going to be doing. Okay. Let's look at this together. This is the hourly charts. All right. So let's take a look at this gobbledygook here. Let's get my marker out. All right. So what did we do yesterday? I'm going to show you. Okay. So big run up. Not the best structure. Okay. Not the best structure. In the ES, okay, this is, I was telling my friend, I was like, okay, our internals are not very strong at all. And I kept calling the bluff. And I was looking at NVIDIA and I go, okay, NVIDIA top out. I want to see NVIDIA top out. And I want to see this become a swing high. As soon as we went to last week's high, see if I used this. Now I'm going to be, this was a swing high as well. Okay. And what the market did initially, right, it came up here, wicked. came up here and had a wick, right? But then it made its way back up, took out the swing high, and then I knew the next liquidity level was last week's highs. Now, if I'm long from down here, what do you think I'm going to look at? If I think that it hit last week's highs, I'm going to get out of that trade, right? I'm going to take my profits. All right? And then I kept saying, specifically the Nasdaq, to my good friend, I was like, "Hey, listen, this is basically bearish, not for a sell-off," I told him, "for some type of intraday correction." All right, so now the market. This is what I love. This quote from Brian Shannon from the Godfather of the Anchor VWAP, right? He said the market always does the obvious thing in the least obvious way. I love that. Okay, and I said this probably is going to have a correction. Just the way we could not find acceptance over this level. What do we do? Right? Lower high. And then it just moseyed and finally broke this equal low and took out this poor structure all the way down to here. Now there is a bearish fair value gap right here, a 4-hour that it could not mitigate. Okay? And now we're in gobbledygook land. Okay? Of course, this is the most traded price of this year. That's where we are. Okay? That's where we are. Most traded price of the month. We are above. This is the most traded price of the week. Gobbledygook. I'm telling you. All right? Now, what do we have going on now? I'm going to explain it to you again. Okay? So, went up here, couldn't go, found buyers, stopped at the most traded price of the week. Now we're pulling back. Look at this poor structure here. Markets don't like to, markets, when they move like that, are very easily symmetrically cleaned up. That's what happened. This poor structure was already just taken care of. Okay? That poor structure was already taken care of. Now, what do we do here? I have no clue. This is not a chart of high conviction at all. At all. Now, I know you can't see it the best, but this is the daily candle. You can't really see it, a futures. I can see it. There's a wick up here, and it's like right here. This is this is a 4-hour candle. So what I have in my charts now is a daily candle and a 4-hour. So and on my hourly. So it's a beautiful thing. So look, that's the last. This is the 4-hour candle right now. Looks pretty bearish, right? But the daily candle is green. Okay. Gobbledygook. I don't know what's gonna happen here. All right. To me, we're kind of coiling up. That's what it kind of looks like. Like, look, you're kind of making a kind of like a wedge a little bit. You're compressing. And eventually we're going to do one of those. Okay? I don't know what's going to happen. Really don't. Okay? Now we're making like what? Swing high, right? So it's anybody's game. All right? Anybody's. What I would say, I would lean a little toward the bull side. Okay? Because this bullish fair value gap was honored. It held. We took out this bearish fair value gap right here. That's the only tell. Really is. Okay? Let me get rid of this. Alright, that's the only tell. And then the market just took care of this poor structure. So, like I said, it's really a very hard, and it's OPEX, it's a very hard chart to be like, alright, this is awesome. Like, it's not. Okay? Move on to the Nasdaq. Nasdaq, boy, that had a bearish look yesterday, and I kept saying it. Okay, I kept saying it. I kept saying this is bearish for a correction. Okay. Now, so what happened in the Nasdaq? You had these equal highs here, and I told my friend, I was like, "See these equal highs? What did we do? Did we ever close and displace above those? Nope, we did not. You had that wick close down here. That is a liquidity rate. Okay. Then what did you try again? Tried to come up there and failed. Tried to come up there again. Right? And then you gave one more shot. This is why I said the market always does the obvious thing in the least obvious way. Right? I kept on saying, hey man, I was telling my friend, this is probably going to go down, but it's not, it's going to do, it's the way it does it, we don't know how it's going to do it. So here it goes. Took out this swing high one last time. Then what did it want? Right? Boom. Came down, made these equal lows. Opened here and then just took those out, swept that, swept these equal lows, and ripped. Now, what did it do? Look to the left. Here's poor structure. Symmetric cleanup of poor structure. The market's efficient, so it did its job, cleaned up the poor structure. Okay? Now, notice what we did. We went to the most traded price of the month and of the year, hit demand, and then what did we do? Created more poor structure. And we're trying to hold it. Again, the difference in the Nasdaq is look at the daily candle. That is very bullish. Right? And this 4-hour candle has a nice wick now, and it's kind of trying to form a hammer. Okay? So, this is relatively stronger than the ES. What I do know, though, is below this swing low, right here, and this equal low, the poor structure is here. So if there's any kind of like this swing high fails into the most traded price of the year of the last 2 months, this gets taken out. We're going to take a ride and take that poor structure out. I don't know if that happens, but I'm going to be there, right, to try to make it work. Now, I do see one level here that I forgot to put on my chart, and it makes sense. Okay, so what I'm going to put on here, there is a 1-hour supply zone right here, which is causing problems right now for the market. Okay, so let's put that on, and you can see now why that makes sense, why I see it. Okay, so that supply zone's right there. Look, we came into it, gave some problems. Okay, that gave some problems. So this little equal low, look, you couldn't sweep it, right? This is another swing low. I don't like to put too many there. These are all liquidity levels. Okay, so that's all I'm really looking at. This is really important to hold this level. Got a bullish value gap here. So this is hard to get through, though. We got supply and the most traded price of the last. This is the most traded price of the last year, the week, and the last 2 months. I mean, you can't get. I mean, look at this traffic here. That will not be easy to puncture. It will not be easy. So what can I see today in your Nasdaq? What can I see? Well, it seems like tech likes to go strong in the overnights and give up the goods. So if that pattern plays out, you're going to do this, and you're going to try to attempt to displace over this swing high, which happens to be 25876, right? If you cannot and you sweep, you put a lower high in, and you start to challenge this swing low and this equal low, and you take that out, yeah, you're going to clean up this poor structure, and you're going to go right back down to the most traded price of this year and of the month. That could very well be the case. Okay. Now, if it's bullish, it has a lot of work to do. The bull move is harder. It needs to break through this swing high, break through the supply, break through the most traded price of the rolling year, break out yesterday's highs, and hold it and hold it and hold it to see if you can go higher. All this trading is above us. It is not easy to do that. Okay, I think this is going to be another tricky day. OPEX. Okay, hopefully that's all making sense to everybody, what I'm saying. Hope it really makes sense. All right, now we're going to move on. to market profile, volume profile. It's just another way to look at the markets that I like. Let's do it. We're going to start with the ES. This is our market profile, volume profile now. All right. So let's look at this together. What do we have going here? Okay. Price is here in the middle of the overnight, in the middle of yesterday. Horrible location. Really bad. Just not good. Okay. So right off the bat, all right off the bat, we just talked about the levels, right? You're just in the middle of muck here. All right. So what we're going to look at, it's pretty simple. Put up a box here. That's yesterday's lows, overnight lows. So your overnight session becomes your liquidity. That's when you want to be active. When the overnight leg was tagged, give you a little stat. The overnight low or overnight high gets hit, tagged 97% of every session. Okay? That's a little stat. So this is the area you want to be active in. Okay? That is the area. This is all chop. Okay? Like again, I don't know what's going to happen. Now you do have this all-time highs is way up here. You do have a tail. Like I said, we're pretty much in a balanced session. I wouldn't be shocked if we just did this today. Like just balanced. Right? Try to go higher, fail, go back at the range. Maybe we try to go lower, fail, go back into the range. I feel like that's what today's setting up for. Oh man, I didn't want to do all that. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let's just get right into scenarios now. Let's start with the bull side. I am not happy with today's the way it looks. There'll be opportunities, but I just don't I don't like where we're at. Okay, so if I want to get long, what am I going to look for? Well, I'm going to look for some touch of this overnight low, which is the close of yesterday. Happens to be as well. Got a bullish for value gap here as well. Got demand. Maybe I want to break yesterday's lows as well, and maybe even tiptoe into this month-to-date anchored view up, higher low, and then you can get a nice long, maybe up to overnight highs and yesterday's highs. Okay, that all depends on internals. Okay, that's probably all I'm most interested in as far as a long. Okay, shorts. Well, what do I want? I want this overnight high tested. Boop. We could fail there. Boop. Put a wick in. Boom. Go back over to most traded price of the week and fall. Down to yesterday's lows. Maybe even bounce off here. That would be the short. Now, the short also could be in play if we pushed up to yesterday's highs, last week's highs again, and wicked. You're also probably gravity's going to take place. That is the long and short trade that I'm interested in the Nasdaq. I mean the DS. If we go to the Nasdaq, okay, remember the Nasdaq has actually a little better levels. Be honest. Okay, actually has a little better levels here. Let's look at that. So you do have equal highs here. The 259, 53s, 54s. That is a level you got to pay attention to. Okay, that level. Remember, we have the most traded price of the rolling year right here. Remember what I said. That's not going to be easy to cut back through. We have supply here in the overnight highs. Okay. Now, you have close to an equal low here at the yesterday's lows and overnight lows, and also the most traded price of the month with demand and a bullish fair value gap. That's the area you want to do business in, or up here, right? Remember what I said. Look at the thin volume here. That's that poor structure. Okay, that's the poor structure. How the market moved up in the overnight. Very poor structure. Okay, let's break that out. 30-minute bars here. Look at that. That could get taken away very quickly. Very quickly. Okay. So let's get into the long and short trade scenarios of the NASDAQ futures. And let's start with the bull side. Okay. This is a horrendous long in here. I am not interested in getting long in that area at all. So for me to be long, a couple things have to happen. Okay. Let's say we push up. Let's say we do one of these, fail, but like let's say internals are not that weak. Then we get a bear trap where we go and try to take out this bullish for value gap and do one of these, whoop. And then I'm like, oh man, these internals are not weak. That's the only long I would be interested in to try to take out yesterday's highs and try to move up. It's not a favorite. It's just something that I would be interested in. I am not interested in longing up in here. That is a horrible location. You're going to have a lot of problems. Now, what could happen? What could happen? Okay. Since we're kind of in this big balance range, okay, and it's real muddy waters, another long would be, okay, remember this poor structure that I said could easily be taken out? Well, you just run that and you run it right down into this demand, the most traded price of the month, end of the year. Maybe you take out yesterday's lows, you sweep those lows and tiptoe into this large, at least a 6-hour demand zone, and you go whoop, and you get a higher low, and then we just probably go back to the mean. I really see this in the cards, this scenario. Okay, but what I'm going to be honest with you about is I am probably biased short right now the NASDAQ. It's just setting up for it. Really is. It really is setting up for it. All right. Why is that? I just told you this poor structure needs to be dealt with. And you're running into a wall with supply, all right, with the overnight high. So, in a great, perfect world, okay, where I get what I want, would be bulls take control off the open, take out overnight highs, go into supply, okay? And what I want to see is no acceptance, a sweep. Have these longs take some profits. Okay? I want to see a sweep. Whoop. And you get a wick. And I'm like, okay. Check number one. Well, then I want to see maybe internally there's a swing low that gets taken out. And then we pull back. That's where you fire your short off. Most trader price of the overnight is here at around, let's call it 25823s. If the market goes through this level, okay, you already have, I really just noticed this, 100% net long in the overnights in the NASDAQ. You opened here and only went up. You're 100% net long. It's not going to take much to go through that overnight VPOC. If you do this, that poor structure is going to be taken out. And you're going to go right down to the most traded price of the month, 257s. 257s is also the most traded price of this year. You're going to do that. This structure is begging to get taken out. And then you might do this and bounce, right? That's my play. Now, anything in this area, I'm going to look to short with failures. It's negated if price accepts above here. Then I'm like, all right, I'm not going to short that. Okay? I really like that play. And then what sucks is sometimes the market doesn't give you a shot to capitalize on it. We might open, right? And it might just go boom. And I'd be like, great, that was my setup. But, so that's trading. That's just how it works. So that's my scenarios, okay? I don't want to cloud you with too many because those are my favorite. Okay? Now, if you enjoyed that analysis, smash the like button for me. That would mean a lot. Okay? Now, hopefully, you can join me every morning. All right? Subscribe, set that alert, give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards, a bunch of technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ and the ES futures. All right? If you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage and click on the link and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. I will not steer you wrong. Okay? I will not steer you wrong. So hopefully you come in, ask me questions. I'm like a mad scientist in there. All right? So I use a lot of tools, but overall, get the vibe from me. If I say it has nothing to do, there's usually generally nothing to do. Now, like I said, everyone has their own style, right? A good friend of mine's like more of a scalper. So like sometimes like let's say we're in a tight range and maybe he's scalping the range. Like, all right, for me there's nothing much to do. But there might be something to do for a scalper. So it doesn't always pertain. But what does pertain is if you want to have a higher probability of a scalp, whatever I say that I want to get a trade in is going to be a better scalp. Okay? That is the truth. You know? Scalping in the middle of a range, unless it's not this big balance range where there's clear highs and lows, you're asking for trouble. Okay? So let's just see. Now, keep in mind what I just said. Look at the NASDAQ. This poor structure, I'm going to say it again, is so susceptible to getting broken. We're already, look, swing high, in a 30-minute, this most trader, all that needs to do is get taken. The price starts to go like this. These are longs, folks. We're 100% net short. I'm telling you right now. I just hope that doesn't set up yet. Okay? Now, everybody, hope everybody has a great weekend. Remember, it's OPEX. Could be early volatility, followed by pinning. All right? Everybody, hopefully everybody has a great day. Remember, no trade to trade. Hope everybody has a green day and then a good weekend. Remember, markets, I believe, closed or like a limited opening on Monday because Martin Luther King Day happens to be my daughter's birthday. She's going to be turned 8 on Monday. So I wasn't going to be trading anyway, but the market is going to be probably closed or be low volume. That maybe, I'm not sure if that would affect today because it's Monday's a holiday. I'm not sure. Okay. But we'll see. All right. Hopefully, if I see you in the room, if I don't, I'll see you guys Tuesday.